Hello, everyone. Welcome to Echo Art with Carmella-T. So I am sitting on the floor again. And the reason is I wanted to spread the quilt out so you can see the few pieces that I'm going to add onto the quilt. And then I'm going to pin the pieces and take them up on the table and sew them. So there's a few more that I'm adding today. I'm not sure where this is going, but I'm going with how I feel and what I'm seeing in my mind, and not clearly, not necessarily extremely clearly, but exactly what I feel I want. So now, if you're new to the channel, we do all creative projects here. Creativity is the key. And we do it with recycled materials, supplies, fabrics, textiles, whatever you're working in your art world, we encourage you to do with recycle. It's our way of giving the earth a little bit of a hug and just helping along the process instead of putting these fabrics in the landfill. We can create with them and either sell or gift someone with them. And if you're coming back, thank you for coming back. I am so grateful to have you. I love your questions. Some of the questions, when they're really detailed, I love to do videos on them. And because usually when someone is asking a question, I used to say this when I was managing, if you're asking, you're probably asking for 20 or 30 other people because not everyone likes to step up and ask. So thank you so much for your questions and your comments. So with that, I'm going to put the camera down and I want to show, and then I'm going to get up, which is always a big deal, and go on the other side of the quilt. But let me put this down so you can see right here. This is the patch that I'm adding, and it is pinned. And now I'm going to go on the other side of this quilt because the next few pieces that I feel like I want to add, let's see if you can see. Yeah, you can, are right here in the center. And so you're going to be surprised for sure because this one I want to have go like this and maybe like that. So you're like, well, what the heck is that, Carmella? So I'm going to move the camera up a tiny bit closer. This is a bow, and this is technically a bow. But what they are in my mind are birds. Now, when I sew them, and I'm going to pin these now, and because as this piece starts to take a life of its own on, and that is exactly what's happening. So I don't know why I felt like I just felt like a bow should go in the center here and kind of with the movement. I want the movement of the fabrics. And I don't even know if I want that second one like that or kind of like this. Maybe like this. And you're like, well, Carmella, you have kind of you have kind of excess fabric. You know what? That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because this is exactly what I want. I want the piece to take on some movement of its own. Now, am I going to rigidly keep it in place and everything? I'm just going to leave it like that and pin this as best I can. And then we're going to take this up to the table and we're going to start Sashiko stitching these pieces in place. I don't know if that took yet. And now I'm kind of like, do I want to put any other pieces on here today? And I'm not getting the feeling that I particularly do. I don't know why right now. But I don't like, I like this and I know this will be going on to this piece, but and maybe when I'm sewing these, I might feel like it goes behind them a little bit. I kind of get in that feeling a little bit because so I may have pinned them down prematurely. This piece I feel is a little big, so I want to work with a smaller piece. And this is the funny thing. When I started this, now my scissors are on the other side of the room, so I'm going to go over there and get them. But when I started this piece, I wanted to work mainly with large pieces. That's all I wanted to work with. And now that I'm working with it, and putting these pieces down, I feel like I want to work with smaller pieces. So, you never know. I mean, it's like I said, it's the material just kind of speaking for itself, as I say. It's the only way I can describe it. Now, I feel like I want this to be even smaller. So I kind of maybe like that, or this one even. Yeah, that's better. And I'll worry about my fraying after. And oh, you know what? You, the theme, the theme I was feeling in the first design and layout, for those of you who saw that video, was birds. It was, I felt like it was birds because the fabric had birds on it. Oh, I love this piece right here. I just kind of rip that piece and I'm just kind of loving that piece right there. That's lovely. That's really, really lovely. So let's see, I want to put this down here like that. And I'm bringing you with me on real time. This is real time. I probably pinned everything. I'm thinking a little too early because usually I don't pin them immediately unless I'm sure. And this one is very much in, I want this to go, I think, over here. And because I want this to show that piece there, that silhouette. And I want this to kind of flow with that piece. That's kind of how I'm feeling. I don't know. I mean, when we actually, so I should show you some of my paintings of doves that I've done. I did a dove in a painting called The Great Divide. It was a political innuendo type deal, red, white, and blue. And guess what the white was? The white was the dove between the red and the blue. Oh, it's actually a beautiful paint. You know what? I'll show that to you with this, but it's an abstract. It's just a paint, not a large painting, but it's a painting. So I kind of want these to go a little bit different ways. And see, you can see the process in play here. I mean, like I'm watching myself. And I'm just, you notice I'm moving them all different ways because when it gets to where I want it, I'll know. And I feel like what I'm doing here maybe are some clouds, blue, and maybe another piece will give us a little sun. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening. And it's Boro. You know what I mean? Oh, that's good right there. And it's Boro. So yeah. Let's see here. So this is why it's not just, oh, I love that. So far, I love that. Now, in the next clip, I'll have these pinned and we'll move up to the table and we will start sewing. Hey everyone. So I got the piece up on this a little table. You can see it's a little it looks bunched. It's really just kind of folded gently. And I'm going to move the piece towards me. I have everything pinned, and we're going to start sewing the Boro design up here in the corner. And I'm going to put this down so you can see a little bit better. Now, these fringes came out exactly the way I wanted them to come out. So when you have extra pieces like that floating around, you just want to be mindful that that the piece like folded under, that it's kind of all spread out, because it is so easy to forget a little tucked in piece under here, and then it's all sewn together. So I'm going to slide my needle between these between this base and these fabrics, and I'm just going to bring them up. Now I'm focusing very much and completely on just getting my pieces sewn on. That's my major focus. So I'm going in a Sashiko um, visible stitching all around the edge. That's what I'm doing as we create our Boro inspired wall hanging and or slash quilt. Because all in all, this could be, like I said, I mean, it's lovely. This could be draped around your shoulders, you know, it could be on your couch. It's just a lovely. So I'm just going all around, and this is in real time. So it didn't take me too long to design this particular piece. And because when I put the patch, when I put the Boro patch, a remnant piece of fabric onto this existing piece here, it just popped. It just, there was no question in my mind that went just beautifully. So now, having a small table, I'm able to maneuver this a little bit and move my piece a little bit. So I'm going to bring all of this up so I can actually turn it and then continue working. So everything's going to flip up over onto the other side. And the reason I do that is the same reason I do that with Kawandi, is because I want to keep everything in perspective. And I could kind of, there's a couple different ways I've done this. I've gotten up actually and walked around the piece. When I had my bigger table in my older videos, you'll see that. So if I get a bigger table again, I probably do that. And so I'm holding this up, and I'm just doing Sashiko running stitches and getting them on that way. And I'm going to give them a nice little snug pull. And if it's gathering a little bit in the center, that's okay. That's part of the aesthetic. And I personally really like that. So now I need to put it this way. It's going to be a little bit away from the camera. So I'm just going to, without obscuring this too much, I'll pick it up here so you can see. And then I'm going to do a little back stitch. So I do the same thing. I do my running stitches and do a little back stitch just to make sure it's nice and secure and being locked. And that's just a little way, just like what you do on your machine, on your sewing machine. So I'm going to turn it one more time and make sure everything is spread out here so it's not getting caught. And this might be So after I get all my pieces on, first I sew them on like this. And then after I get them on, I take another really good look at the piece and I decide, do I want to, what design do I want to do with my Sashiko stitching? Or do I want to do some shibori designs? You know, do I want to manipulate it a little bit in gathering the fabric a little bit? Do I want to, you know, add more stacking in the center of these? You know, do I want to add some more patches, smaller, larger? Do I want to contrast it? So I kind of think, well, I don't think, I just, to be honest, I just kind of look at it and decide, you know, from an artistic perspective, is there anything else that I'm doing with this piece? Okay, so I just kind of went in, um, did my Sashiko stitching all around the edges here. And I'm just sewing, I'm just knotting that. And then I'm bringing the needle through in the back of the piece, kind of making a knot going through a few of the running stitches and making a little knot that way. So there's many different ways you can knot these in the back. And I think one of the most important things is to leave your tail at least, you know, about 3 inches is good. So now this looks really lovely. That's just a lovely contrasting, and they're both silky, so that goes very nicely. So now I'm going to, okay, everyone. So here are, yeah, I called them bows, but in my mind, they're really metaphors for birds, for maybe the dove or, you know, a bird flying. So that's kind of what these are. Now, I just want to explain something, bring this up a little bit for a moment. So, a couple things. Just a reminder with Boro in the ancient days, ancient method, which I have adopted and inspires me to create. I use the running stitch primarily. Um, it's basically there were no rules, you know, in the way like well, let's use Kwandi for an example. There is a construct and a certain type of method in developing and creating the Kawandi quilt. You're going from the outer edge and you're going around, and you have to have your fulas, the flowers, and typically, and they also in the authentic Kawandi add the batting after they do the first round, the first row. So now with Boro, there were so many different ways of creating what was completely out of necessity. So, you know, they could sew on in the way and what they believed was a necessary way, whether it was stacking their patches or putting them underneath a hole or putting them over the hole or darning the hole, you know, whip stitching around and then playing around with that. So there were many different ways. So with this kind of, I feel like that is what this is. Like when you look at this, I'm going to put this back down now. So when you look at this, you're like, well, Carmella, that's not a patch. And no, it is not a patch. It is not a patch. However, it is still Boro inspired, as it is a material sitting on overlapping another material, and we're using our visible stitching, our Sashiko stitching to adhere this, to create this piece. Now, we may, yes, use shibori technique to manipulate it a little bit, maybe give it a little more movement. But first, the very first thing I'm doing is simply getting this piece. Actually, I might do a little shibori there. I'm feeling like that's lovely right there. and I'm going to do a back stitch to lock that little shibori in place. So I might do that as I go along. Okay, so that little is, if I want to do more gathering on this, I certainly can, but right now I'm going to leave that. Now the gathering that I do, the stitching that I do, whether it's a gentle snug and or it is shibori where I'm pulling a lot of the fabric in. So whatever it is that I'm doing is going to affect the measure of the parameter. It just is of the whole thing, right? And now I feel like I want to go across here, so I'm just going to do that and follow this. And I want to make these stitches very tiny. That's what I'm doing right now. And that's how I'm doing that. So I'm going to lock those few stitches I just did with a back stitch. So it's just like when you're doing your yo-yos. You want to make sure when you go for the whole diameter of the yo-yo that you're going all the way around with a running stitch. And then when you're absolutely sure you want to lock them in place, then you do a back stitch. And you're locking the tension in place, you're locking the stitches, and all of it. And I really love this right now. This is going to be a lovely. So now I don't have any idea where and what and how this piece, because but I do know this. I know that I will know when it's complete. I will know that. And this is not near complete. So now I'm just doing running stitches here. And I just want to get, and I do feel like I want these to kind of be conveying an image of movement and of the birds. So the bird moving in the sky, maybe, and I'll probably tweak this a little. I don't know. I might just leave it, but I may give it a little bit more of a tweaking, or a little bit more, manipulate it a little bit more, for a lack of a better way to describe it. And you see, when I pull, if I pull too hard, then it's going to make it gather in places maybe I don't want. So now I have this piece right under the bird, and instead of, I could have sewn this on first, but I consciously decided not to, because it's right on the bird. So I just am going to do some Sashiko stitching and get that in place, and I'm going to sew it right into the piece that I'm saying, is an image of a bird or shape. So when I come over here, I have the choice to shape the wings this way, and have this, bring this up maybe a little bit more this way. So and if I don't shape it, that's okay, because guess what? I can shape it later. These are folds, and if I'm really unhappy with it, I can even take the running stitches out. So, but that's not something that I feel that I really want to do. So I'm trying to get this fabric lifted a little bit here, and continue with my running stitch. So do the running stitches have to go on the same direction that the bird is going in, or the wings, or whatever it is I'm trying to convey. So again, that's completely your choice. These running stitches can go whichever way that you're choosing them to go to. And this is the beauty of the experience, is that the more you experience, oh wait, I need to, sorry about that, just close the door because there's a lot of noise. And so we're going to close that. So sorry about that, but I didn't really want to turn this video off. So you probably can't even hear the noise. But so anyway, yeah, the beauty of it is practicing. Every time you practice, you're learning something brand new. You really are. You're either learning a little bit more about tension, you're learning a little bit more about how to hold the needle comfortably, you're learning a little bit more about your fabrics. You know, these are things that they're just absolutely priceless. So I just kind of want to get a better handle on that. And I want to shift. I'm going to actually keep this straight, because the only reason for that is I want to get this sewn on, but the piece up here that I'm leaving unsewn, like I could sew right along the edges, but these pieces that I'm leaving unsewn, I could fold. Maybe I want to do a little bit more shibori. So I'm going to, what I'm doing, because this is WIP, this is work in progress, I want to leave this like that. So this bird is on, okay? It's not anywhere near done, but it is sewn on, because I feel like maybe I'm going to bring this down a little bit and bring this up. I don't know. I kind of like it like that, you know, and sharpen it up a little bit, but we'll see. Because I have a feeling I'll be moving back down, because look how nice that is in those folds. I want to bring those out. And this up here, see, I can fold it up like that if I want. And this was the same with Boro. They could take a patch if they wanted to fold it like that or whatever. So that particular bird is for the moment where I want it to be. Now this one, so I'm going to gently move this over here and then let the piece kind of drape. So just kind of reminding myself, with this right in front of me, this piece I have, and I just want to show you this for a moment. This bird, I have a wing coming down, and I want to have a wing going up. That's kind of how I want. This one on this side, it just happened like that. It just felt right. This is going up and this is coming down. So, you know, as artists, you know that when you're doing a piece, you love the movement. So the motion is what really, for me, it just makes the piece really, really interesting. So so what we're going to do is sew this one on a little bit too. And we're going to do that. Now I'm losing some sunlight out there. And it is because the sun is going down. So what I'm going to do is thread this needle, and then we're going to everyone. So I pretty much have that part of the wing where I believe I want it. So I'm just going to, I'm kind of, I'm sewing a little bit on an angle. So I'm going to actually I'm going to actually start down here, just where it's a little more comfortable for me. And I can get this piece on, and we will get that few running stitches. We're going to do our back stitch, lock that in place. That's just lovely. And I'm kind of working, trying to get this up so you can see. I'm working a little bit smaller. And I can hang that over because that other piece is sewn on. I have to tell you, I just wanted to talk a moment. It seems the color scheme here is definitely earth tones. I mean, really earth tones. I can't seem to, I'm not trying to get away from it, but I gave a little pop of the, this one, the little patch here, and, with the, red and the purple, and, the orange, but even that is almost, an earth tone base. I can tell those colors are. So, but it's interesting because they just flow beautifully together. So, and now, just like I do with my kawandi, I'm just moving this in a position that's super comfortable for me, and making sure that the edges are not underneath there. And I want to keep the effect. This is the beauty of shibori, is that, yeah, you can keep, create movement and texture. You create texture. But with a Sashiko stitching, you can, create these very teeny tiny stitches. Now, if you want to get technical with a Western type of embroidery, you can even do invisible stitching in places that you don't want. You don't want a visible stitching. But making these really tiny, they hug the fabric so well that a lot of them, like, you will hardly see them. They're just, or my favorite stitches, seed stitching. And a lot of you know that from some of the videos that I have done. And so the seed stitching, let me hold this up so you can see a little bit. The seed stitching is, the stitch is like a little seed. It's really tiny. So you kind of go in there. Now, when you've got it on the underside, you can make the length of the stitch any length you want. You can keep it small. You can keep them consistent. You can make a medium, large, whatever. But when you come back up, you're coming back up here. Okay. You want to keep in mind that you're going to, excuse me, you're creating a seed stitch. So you keep it really tiny on this side of your piece. So I'm doing some seed stitching here because I want that on this particular piece right now. And I'll probably work more seed stitching on the other bird. The Sashiko stitching I did there is fine. It's they're small running stitches, and I definitely want my stitching to show, but in some spots, maybe if I want really delicate stitching, I use seed stitching. So now the reason I'm not really focusing on the bow, on the knot yet, is because I really want to get a visual of this before I do that. And I really, really want to get the, excuse me, the piece generally in place. So now I'm going to turn this again towards me. And so I have a nice, now I have some fraying here that I do want to clip only because I brought it through with the thread. So I don't want my thread to get all mixed up in that. So I'm just going to trim those kind of a little bit away from the thread. And that's perfect. That's very good right there. So I'm bringing this up so I can get a little hold on my material. And like I said, I'm not really messing around with the knot yet. Not until I get a vision of how I really want that. So now I'm going to get a clear view of this wing. And I did pin it like that. Yes, I do want it like that. So swinging up a little bit. And if I really want to manipulate this a tiny bit more, I'll do so. But right now, I'm just going to stay with some more seed stitching. So the top part is very tiny. I come in under, let's see if I can show you here underneath. See underneath how longer, those are longer stitches. And on top, we're doing a very tiny, like you can hardly see it. It's a seed stitch. Now, typically those seed stitches go in all different directions, but I am using them in a linear way, you know, keeping them more on the edge of my piece and just kind of using that technique. So that's how I'm doing that. And I absolutely am loving this piece. I'm loving this. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm just holding this pretty much with my thumb right now because I really do want it to stay up a little bit like that. And then what I'll do is I'll pay more attention to the folds and all of it after I know it's not going to be moving on me all over the place. So that's why I want to get it stitched. And this is just a lovely. So you can see the stitches are longer in the back. So I'm just going to pull that through, pull my needle out, and just kind of show you this. Okay. So yes, this is how creative you can get with Boro. You can get as creative as you want, typically. You know, between making, doing Sashiko stitching with, you know, a knotted piece of fabric or an applique. Like I had in my mind to put hearts on this. So I might still do that. And then I also kind of had mountains or the sun, you know, some concrete forms. I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of what's happening right now. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to continue this project. So today is Sunday, and I will be sitting and stitching this. So now I will definitely share with you when I have these pieces stitched on and talk to you about what I ended up doing in my creative process. And then most likely we're adding more patches because we are continuing to build with the Boro method of patching, inspired by the Boro method of Japanese patching. So with that, we'll see you in the next one. If you have any questions and you've started yours and you have some vision you're trying to get conveyed or expressed on your quilt and you need a little help with it, let me know. I am more than happy if I have any suggestions to help you to let you know. So with that, you have a beautiful